Good morning, children. Let's begin with the explanation of the poem The Night of the Scorpion by Nazim Ezekiel. In this poem, the poet has narrated an incident of his life which took place when he was a child. The poem is about the night when the poet's mother was stung by a scorpion, and hence the title, The Night of the Scorpion. Let's go to the poem, let's read it, and let's understand what the incident is all about. Before we go to the poem, let's know about the poet Nazim Ezekiel. You can see the photograph on your screens. He was a poet, playwright, art critic, and editor. He was awarded Padma Shri in 1988 and Sahitya Akademi Award in 1983. Ezekiel has been applauded means appreciated, for his subtle, controlled, and well-crafted diction. Diction means language. The language which he uses in his poems, it has been appreciated. In his poems, we see that he deals with common and mundane themes. Mundane means very simple themes. When you read his poems, you would realize that the themes of his poem are very common as well as very simple. The remaining information given over here, you can just go through it, children, regarding Nazim Ezekiel. Let's know about the poem. The text type, it's a poem, it's a narrative poem. The poet has not made use of rhyme scheme and has written the poem in free verse. If you read the poem, you would realize that the lines are irregular in length. Some lines are long, while others are short. The poet also makes use of poetic devices like figures of speech and imagery. So when you read a certain line, you would be able to imagine the situation which is expressed by the poet. Now, there are a few key points which you need to remember, which you need to observe when we read the poem. The first one, where the incident takes place. The setup where the incident takes place. So it is a rural, remote, poor Indian village, and hence the people involved in the incident are villagers. Then the second point which we need to observe, the poet has highlighted in the poem, is the approach, the behavior of the villagers. The superstitious nature of villagers, the various superstitions which they use in order to provide relief to the mother. Along with it, he also tells us about the temperament of the villagers, the behavior of the villagers, and their outlook on life. The third point which the poet highlights is the qualities of villagers, that how much the villagers were concerned that the mother gets immediate relief and immediate cure, and for that they were using a number of superstitions. And the poet also highlights the unity of village people. They all were trying all these methods in order to provide relief to mother unitedly. They were working together. The next thing which we need to observe is the impression of poet's anger. In the poem, the poet is giving an impression of poet's anger. Now, when this incident took place, the poet was a child. He wanted to help his mother. He wanted to provide support to his mother. He wanted to do something that the mother gets relief from this extreme pain. But as a child, he was helpless. As a child, he was just a mute spectator. And when we read the poem, we can realize, or we could observe, the poet's anger. The last thing which we need to notice in the poem, which comes towards the end of the poem, that is the underlying message of the poet, and that is of motherly love. So these are the points which you need to remember when we read or when we study the poem. Let's begin with the explanation of the poem Night of the Scorpion by Nazim Ezekiel. Nazim Ezekiel was born in 1924 and he died in 2004. Was an Indian Jewish poet, actor, playwright, editor, and art critic. He was a foundational figure in post-colonial India's literary history, specifically for Indian writings of a wider range. So, Nazim Ezekiel was considered to be a very important poet in post-colonial India, that is India after the end of colonial rule, India after the end of British rule, in India's literary history, that is in Indian literature. Specifically, it means particularly for Indian writings of wider range. His writings, his work, his poems were based on Indian themes. The poet depicts the selfless love of a mother who is stung by a scorpion. Now here in this poem, Night of the Scorpion, the poet is highlighting the selfless love of a mother who was stung by a scorpion. Now let's begin with the poem and let's understand what does the incident is all about. I remember the night my mother was stung by a scorpion. And in the beginning itself, the writer wants to make it very clear that he cannot forget this incident which took place in his life. He says that he remembers that incident, that night, that fateful night when his mother was stung by a scorpion. 10 hours of steady rain had driven him to crawl beneath a sack of rice. Now, the poet says that because it was continuously raining for 10 hours outside, the rain might have compelled the scorpion to come inside their house and take shelter or hide itself beneath the sack of rice. Parting with his poison flash of diabolic tail in the dark room, he risked the rain again. And once the scorpion had parted with his poison, that is, he had stung the mother and had inserted the poison into the mother's body, with a flash of diabolic tail in the dark room. Flash means to shine, and scorpions usually glow in dark. Of a diabolic tail, here the poet is using the word diabolic for tail, which means that the tail is considered to be very wicked, is considered to be having qualities of a devil, because it was the tail which had inserted the poison into the mother's body. He risked the rain again, and the poet says that after stinging the mother, the scorpion had taken a risk to go back outside in the rain. Now, children, the next part of the poem you'll be able to see in the next video. So go to the next video.